Hey guys, welcome back to another uh, podcast episode of the Japanese Shabaru uh, long-awaited return. Took some time off, had some stuff going on with life, uh, but now I'm back, and I cannot wait to really talk about the summer season, which I'm gonna try to talk about as many anime as possible. And today we're starting off with Takopi's Original Sin that just dropped recently. So, to give you the general premise of the show, Takopi is it's like a squid alien life form that came from a different planet, where like essentially everybody in that planet doesn't know any suffering, doesn't know any conflict. Everybody's just happy there. So throughout his entire existence in the show so far, he's never actually experienced any hardships or had to do anything with life basically. So, and the way that their race kept this, you could say, kind of like facade or like their way of living to maintain happiness and friendships. They have special gadgets that are made to increase friendships and increase happiness. So Takopi, who came to Earth to try to spread the happiness, uh, is making it his mission to have Shizuka uh, get happy because as he sees her, he sees that she's not necessarily the happiest person, but he does want to make her happy, and that's how the general premise of the shows goes. But now we, but this show don't get it twisted. Despite the happy, semi happy images that I have up, this show is actually very more complex than that, and it dives a lot deep into a lot of heavy themes such as suicide, child abuse, etc. A lot of very serious topics, and this show or this anime even like warns you as you start off the episode. In the first like 10-15 seconds, it pretty much gives you the whole rundown of what the show is going to be about and gives you all the trigger warnings that are so that you know what you're getting into before you continue past the initial few seconds. So one of the things that I really do enjoy of this anime is that Shizuka, who is the complete opposite of Takopi, she essentially is not in the happiest place, not in the healthiest relationship with her peers, or and she at first Takopi, who's just like this lovable guy, just doesn't really understand what Shizuka's going through, and just tries to, in his own naive way, tries to make sure she's happy. So he tries to show her like gadgets that are from his planet and calls it like kind of magical, you know. So he takes a picture of Shizuka with one of the gadgets, and you don't you don't really get into what the gadget does, but it's supposed to like it starts off by telling you that it captures happy moments so that you can always relive them whenever you want, leaving it kind of vague. And then later on, it gets explained that you can actually store up one of those photos to time travel back in time to where the photo initially took at the place and time that the photo took place. Kind of like link click, if you've seen that, where like photo goes back in time, etc. Uh, but yeah, I do love the kind of juxtaposition that is going on with Happy and Shizuka throughout the first episode, where Happy is a very naive person, doesn't know how much life can really throw at you, doesn't really know the hardships of life, and you have Shizuka that's going through it, and you see it because in one of those instances you hear people talking behind her back, like she's on welfare, she's this and that, her mom's a whore, and an escort, etc., like just sleeping around with men. So you instantly know that this girl that is in Shizuka's class has a kind of like is the main bully of her. And at first you think it's more like a verbal harassment, and you can already see like the kind of like dynamic that's happening with that one. Marina obviously has something weighing very heavily that she feels Shizuka's responsible for, and is taking it out on her. And Shizuka just doesn't necessarily uh she knows what's happening, but she doesn't necessarily know how to go about things to make them better. So in her own way, the way she's kind of been coping through these days is she has this puppy called Chappie, and you can instantly see that when Shizuka is around Chappie, she's actually very happy. She's content. You can, and she even tells us that, like, like she feels like no matter what hardships she may bring, life may bring at her, as long as she has Chappie, she'll always be okay in the end. And knowing that just already sets a very uh, expectation that something's gonna happen to Chappie. And lo and behold, the next day comes around, and Shizuka goes to meet Takopi at the regular hangout place, and she's shows up all beaten up, bruises, scrapes everywhere around her face, uh, and Takopi's once again not necessarily knowing what happened and not necessarily understanding the circumstances Shizuka's life is in, asks her if that's kind of like a decoration or on her face or whatnot. So it's like, oh, I bet it's because you want to get closer to one of these girls, right? So like, have Takopi just pretty much hands her a ribbon gadget that's supposedly supposed to increase infinitely, and the two people binded by this ribbon are essentially grow a closer bond to one another. And in that, he he remembers something that his mother's been telling him, like, listen, there's a few rules that you have to follow uh when going to different planets. And it's like one of them is like you cannot let any alien life form come into contact with the gadgets without our any of our supervisions, or like without your supervision at all. But Takopi, not knowing any better, is like, it's Shizuka. I know she'll be okay. Lo and behold, things turn around for the worse. Uh, Takopi starts uh, worrying that Shizuka has not come back in a while. So he goes in to go to her place, only to find Shizuka had like put the ribbon around her neck with and hanging from a ceiling. So Takopi, not knowing any better, tries to really come to grips with what's happening as to why she had to die. All this, uh, the anime, by the way, incredible work with the art direction and so far. And when they got to the scene with Shizuka just having the camera point of view from her side as she's dangling from the ceiling, just seeing her little feet move back and forth, gruesome as hell, very heartbreaking. Uh, so Takopi, this is Takopi's first instant of like, oh, you know, my actions have consequences, and because I broke the rule, there was a deep consequence that had to be paid, and in the form of Shizuka's life. So, lo and behold, because remember the camera that Takopi took a photo with Shizuka that one day, he's able to go back in time, and he's trying to make sure Shizuka stays happy from then on, to make sure that what happened to her in the past doesn't come to be again. And for the most part, it seems to him that it's working right. He's giving her answers to her homework. He's making sure all her food is eaten when she's getting bullied about not eating enough food. She Takopi finds her book bag when the bullies try to hide it from her or throw it in the roof, throw it in the trash can, whatever the case may be. But and it's just really just goes to show, like, kind of like the levels of bullying Shizuka has been enduring before Takopi, or possibly the things that Takopi is kind of somewhat responsible for. Because after Takopi is like, okay, well, surely I've done enough, where Shizuka is gonna be happy, and her bully Marina decides she wants to have a chat with Shizuka. Uh, you can instantly tell, like, from the way Shizuka's kind of like holding her arms, like the way she looks, the way her body is moved, body language is at display, that she knows that because Marina's calling for her, nothing good's gonna come of it. And you can see kind of like a level of fear that Shizuka has, which, once again, just opposed to Takopi, who has no idea what's happening. He's all about, oh, this is a great opportunity. You two can patch things up, and you can really become closer friends in that way. He decides to use another one of his gadgets, which, with the simple strand of hair or a simple DNA, he is able to transform into Shizuka. And it's like, okay, well, if you're having qualms about talking to her, hashing things out, I'm gonna do it in your place. So he goes, and as soon as he gets there, he gets hit with a reality crusher, which is Marina has been pissed off that Shizuka has not suffered. She has been very upset that all her plans to make her suffer have gone down the drain, and it's actually, instead of making them get closer to one another, it's actually making them go further, and it's making it seem like Shizuka's getting cocky with her, and she is not liking having this having Shizuka have a higher, she has like a higher superiority complex, to say. So she cannot have Shizuka be higher standing than her, given the fact that she's always making fun of her, putting her down, bullying her, harassing her, all this other stuff. So Takopi gets smacked, gets hit a lot because of the way he's talking, first and foremost, which is already pissing off Marina. Then, as Takopi tries to explain to Marina, like, we can really talk this out, it's like, nope, no talking about it. Pummels him to the ground, and for the first time, Takopi experiences something that his race, and probably he, has never experienced before, which is fear. And this fear basically made it so that he goes back in time and tries to make sure this doesn't happen to Shizuka. But also, because he doesn't want it to happen to Shizuka, he starts questioning, oh man, all those nice things that I've been doing for Shizuka have had, like, dire consequences later on. It's like, am I the one that's somewhat responsible for Shizuka's life being hell? It is one of those things that, because Takopi's a young kid and he's very naive about the world, this is the first instance when he really comes to grip with some sort of responsibility. He holds himself to a higher accountability, and even though he knows that what's going to happen to Shizuka because of what he does, he still does it anyway, because he does feel like this makes her happier. But it was only the how do I get her to not get hurt from Marina, because at this point it's about to go down. Like Marina's waiting for Shizuka, and this time Takopi was like, I wish I could take her place, but once again, that fear of him getting beaten down, getting stomped on, and practically getting a pencil lead on his eyeball, just kind of traumatizes him, and it makes it to where his fear overtakes him, and he can't do what he wanted to do for Shizuka again. So instead, he lets Shizuka go, but then uses the same gadget to transform into her to get help from a teacher. And afterwards, like they end up kind of Shizuka ends up kind of being saved. She still gets roughened up a bit, but it wasn't to the extent and that it was prior. So she thanks Takopi, and this is when Takopi kind of like lets her know, listen, I think because first of all, because Shizuka's like, you've been doing things behind my back to make sure my day goes smoothly, so I want to thank you for that. And Takopi's like, well, I don't know if I can accept those things because I do feel responsible that because I've been doing all these things, you have your things with Marina have gotten worse, and it practically it practically can get you hurt or worse, you know. And this is where like it kind of hits for Shizuka, where it's like, well, you know, still I had fun, so thank you. And we get a complete shift from Shizuka's perspective and Takopi's perspective into Marina's perspective at the end, where you see her home is also in a similar state to what Shizuka's is, but for completely different reasons. Uh, and we know the fact that Shizuka's home is like that because they're very poor and they're very not well off. Well, in Marina's case, it's because the mother has completely neglected her home duties, where because the Marina's father happens to be the escort of Shizuka's mom, and we know that that's one of the main reasons why Marina is picking on Shizuka, because the father, instead of choosing his own family, chose Shizuka's mother, and because of that, Marina's mother is now very vindictive, very verbally abusive towards Marina, and very manipulative towards her. Like, you're gonna be staying with me, right? You're not gonna be choosing your father over me, right? And the same stare that she was giving Takopi when he was beating him down, once again being used here, but this time instead of showing like something to be feared, it's actually showing like fear for that she's actually fearing, has fear in her own life because of that. So like in that aspect, you can kind of really tell that Marina is the one that's taking the abuse that she's getting from home and giving it to Shizuka, who so that Marina can feel better about her own circumstances. And it's really jarring to see because like these are supposed to be like probably like middle schoolers, or definitely like, or maybe close to being middle schoolers. But seeing these hardships that children have, whether it be because the parents are neglectful or because the parents are the ones causing them, it really goes to show that what happens at home doesn't necessarily always just affect the people that live at home. It spreads to other places, even if you're not fully aware that it does. Uh, so I I think Takopi's Original Sin, very rewarding, very real and very cruel, but also it it is very much worth the watch. Myself as a manga reader, when it came out, I was completely going into it blind in the unknown, and it crushed me. But rewatching in the anime, uh, it's still a bit hard to watch, but they make it in a way where it's at least, because the direction is so good, you are probably gonna get a better understanding of the themes and a better understanding of the characters, and just overall a better, it could be a better experience if you're this is your first time experiencing it. So highly recommend Takopi's Original Sin. Episode 1 is a 9 out of 10 for me.